This is the June 2025 update to Armor Alley. This is my web browser-based remake of a game that came out in 1990 for PC and Mac. If you're not familiar, the goal of Armor Alley is to get a van to the enemy base. You fly a helicopter across the battlefield, and along the way there are all sorts of balloons and obstacles and tanks and an enemy helicopter that you have to deal with. This is the tutorial, which gives you a crash course in how to fly the helicopter, how to order inventory, how to take out bad guys, and ultimately win the battle. I will leave this to you to explore because, of course, I'm already familiar. There are tons of new things in the game since the last update. The rendering engine has basically been redone, so we can now run the game at a very smooth 60 frames per second. There's support for high DPI or retina screens, which means the pixels can be extra sharp. And you can also turn on additional UI details like film grain and blur if you have a nice GPU. There's initial support for gamepads as well, so if you have a standard layout style gamepad like a Sony PS4 or Xbox controller, you can try playing the game on one of those. The battle menu has been redone to include all of the details from the original game. So the enemy IQ is an idea of how smart the enemy is. The fairness gives an idea of how many items on the battlefield you own versus how much the enemy owns. As you move further through the battles, you'll notice that the enemy owns more territory and has more convoys already on the way. In addition, as you go through the game difficulties, you'll notice that by the time you get to Wargames, the number of turrets that you have to deal with also goes up. So from Wargames onward, this can be a pretty challenging game. In addition to that, there's also features like jamming, where your radar becomes entirely jammed all the time. Stealth, where the enemy helicopter is hidden from your radar. Napalm, which is additional fire on items like bombs and certain missiles. And finally, bullets, whether or not your helicopter has gunfire versus the new, for this game, dumb or guided missiles. Guided or dumb missiles are quite handy. They include a napalm feature, which can be very useful when you're taking out groups of infantry. As previously, you'll notice that hiding in clouds can sometimes be a great strategic benefit. There are now certain turrets that don't fire at helicopters. They're only looking for ground units. So keep that in mind if you start losing tanks and you're not exactly sure what's taking them out. Now, it's possible you can lose all of your funds if an enemy infantry or engineer gets into your end bunker. And what happens now is your funds go into the negative. You go to negative 25, and you either have to wait until you hit 0, or you can recapture your end bunker. And there are a few ways to do that. And once you've recovered your bunker, then your funds are reset to 0, and you start earning funds from 0 again. All right, I'm going to play Midnight Oasis on Armorgeddon, the most difficult difficulty. And you're going to see there's quite a barrage of bad guys to go up against. I am playing this with one modification where the radar is jammed, but I am going to show it for the purpose of illustration here. So the first thing I like to do is to clear out the battlefield entirely. And don't even bother ordering convoys, you're just going to get taken out. There is so much stuff coming your way off the bat. It's best to hang back a little bit. Now maybe you want to get some infantry. I think you at least want to get one into your end bunker there to arm it so it's not left vulnerable if somebody walks by like these guys. We'll move ahead, try to take out the next oncoming round barrage here. Now we're coming up to 3 heavily armed turrets. They are really nasty now. They have, the gunfire is kind of spread, and so it makes it a little bit more challenging to avoid. Oh boy. Now I'm going to see if I can lob some bombs overhead. I only have one left. All right, I'm going to do something I don't recommend doing this too often, but hey, you got unlimited lives, so we're going to bail out. That is the backspace key. and you can drop all of your paratroopers and kind of do a Hail Mary there, and we'll see if we can get anybody on the ground to help take out those turrets. Now you do have to be careful as well, because this level, flame burns both sides, and so you do have to be careful with bombs exploding or napalm, and also guided missiles also have napalm. Now at this point we cleared out the first turret, and these two are targeting ground units only. So for example, tanks. And so that means we're basically safe to take out the latter two guns or turrets here. And this is where these guided missiles come in really handy. You could use smart missiles as well, but I like to use those on more live targets like the enemy helicopter itself. So I think at this point, we've cleared out this area. Let's just get a convoy going. Now, the enemy helicopter has been, the AI, if you want to call it that, has been refactored. So it's smarter. It's not perfect, but players have told me it's a lot more fun to play against and more challenging. Now, the game is lagging a little bit here, and some of that might be just from my screen recording software. So I do just a general note. This performance is always a work in progress, but it's definitely smoother than it was. And the fact that the game engine runs at 60 frames per second by default, I'm really happy with that. So it's really nice to have kind of modernized, smooth gameplay. Now things are looking a little rough. Oh no, I was too late to get in the cloud. Okay, I'm targeted. See if I can use a balloon as a distraction. Nope. Oh boy. Okay. I'm gonna actually bail out again and just kind of do a Hail Mary. Let's see if we get anywhere. There is now an option as well to, like the original game, you were originally given 4 helicopters or 4 lives. And if you want to turn that option on, it's in there, and then you will lose the game if you run out of helicopters, of course. And you have to buy additional helicopters for 20 funds each using H. So that, just in case this game wasn't hard enough to begin with, you can also have the limitation of the original of 4 helicopters to start. That is a challenge. I mean, I've died, what, 3-4 times already just in this demo, so that's tough. Here's a good example of taking out infantry using the dumb missiles. The napalm can be quite effective. The enemy helicopter is pretty effective at taking out your convoys as well. Pretty accurate with the bombs by this level, so that's something you do have to watch out for. I'm going to try to stay flying here and go back to the base. It is not looking great. And you really have to stay on top of things at this level and difficulty. The enemy chopper is also faster to respawn at the higher levels of difficulty. And it's more likely to go after your super bunkers, try to take over things at large. I think right now it's wanting to go after one of my tanks, but I'm not going to allow that. Because I need to get at least one through. I don't want this, I don't want to lose that super bunker. So if I can keep the tanks back, we'll roll on through here. That should be fine. Let's keep on rolling. Uh-oh. Okay. Strategy time. Let's see if I can sneak through here. Uh-oh. Oh. All right, well, we got some paratroopers down. With any luck, those guys will be able to take out enough of the guns. That's looking good. And then that should be cleared. Yeah, that's looking good. Excellent. So I can get to that landing pad. Now, I should mention the landing pad doesn't show up on the radar here, and this was part of the original game. It's obscured. There are little rocks and flowers and things in the way, and so it doesn't show on the radar. So again, keep your eye out for slightly hidden, slightly obscured landing pads. There are only maybe 2 battles in the game that have these. So just keep an eye out. Those are really handy to have. Now up here we have a pretty, oh man, yeah, this is a very heavily fortified area. So right here you've got 6 turrets, and these is real nasty and also fun. There are a few techniques to taking these out that I've found to be pretty effective, but I just want to show what happens when a tank rolls up here. So you have, I think, 3 and 3. 3 turrets that fire at helicopters and 3 that fire at the ground units like tanks. So it is real nasty. Okay, the frame rate is taking a bit of a hit here, and apologies. I think that is due to the overlaying visibility, the scan ranges here. I need to tweak the performance a bit on that. Now, so you'll see here, these are all ground unit turrets. Oh, I crashed. I was really hoping I was going to get between those things and then be able to take out those turrets. But we ended up getting a paratrooper in there, so hey, that will work too. One man can do the same work as many. I think, I'm not sure what happened there. Hey. Whew, that was close. All right, now you can also try, it's a little tricky, but just a barrage of dumb missiles and kind of spray and pray and hope that you hit some far out there targets. But I would recommend load up, take aim at specific things. Now, I'm going to take out these, they're going to start firing at that tank, so I just want to show that. Oh boy, they fire real fast. So yeah, you don't want don't let your tanks get within range of these things. At this level, it's just instant destruction. All right, now, I don't have an infantry, but another fun strategy is they can take over this bunker here, so we own it, and then it can kind of serve as a barrier against gunfire. The thing is, these turrets fire so fast, they would take out that bunker in under 2 seconds. So I'm just going to go, let's see if we can hit them with some missiles here. That's pretty good. There's a risk as well. They can also take out smart missiles and things coming in, so you do have to really be on top of your aim. Now, the enemy chopper, I think I mentioned earlier, is a little bit smarter. Actually, quite a bit smarter than it used to be. It's more capable of dodging your gunfire, your bombs, your bullets, and missiles. And it also has smarter strategies where it will sometimes target, this was in the original, it would target your tanks, it could target your super bunkers, it could try to take over bunkers. Another thing I have to implement is to make it go after your infantry specifically and engineers. I don't think it currently does that. But if your ground units happen to be in the way, infantry or engineers happen to be in the way of things it's after, they can get taken out as well. I have not ordered a convoy just yet. Uh-oh. I did a bad job of dodging that. Let's see about, pick up some infantry. Now I have engineers which can build and rebuild and capture turrets. And so I think it's a good idea to get a couple of those going so that we can start to build up our own defenses against the enemy here. And I don't want to lose that super bunker. That should do for now. And I think the next thing is we'll sit on this pad for a bit. I'm going to try to take out the next group of turrets. Now it seems the enemy convoy ordering is a little bit randomized, and so that How much funds the enemy gets to start varies depending on the difficulty of the game that you've chosen in the battle. And then the enemy ordering patterns are also slightly randomized per game. But they should follow a somewhat familiar pattern. Now, of course, I've mentioned this before. You can use clouds to great strategic advantage. And this comes in particularly handy when you're in places like this where there's a high risk of being shot at. You're quite a target. Now, there's a great risk, of course, to firing dumb missiles that have napalm. There's a chance you can take out your own crew. But sometimes it's worth the risk. Now, I knew that was coming. But I did not avoid it. It appears I lost whatever I sent out. The tank was taken out somewhere by the enemy choppers, so one more tank it is. It seems the enemy has been ordering a lot of vans, and so those aren't really of concern because they're technically the weakest element of the game. They have the least amount of hit points or armor, if I recall correctly. Let's give this another shot. We'll try to roll through undetected, bomb the first turret out, and then clear out the second and third. Great. I'm going to wait. The enemy knew we were there. There we go. Well, since we're rolling kind of undetected toward the enemy base, I think the next thing to do is I'm going to try stealing some funds. We'll do a Hail Mary here. Drop everybody and see how my aim is. Uh-oh. I might have missed. Now, the strategy there is if you can get an infantry or an engineer into the enemy's end bunker, you can steal their funds. And it seems like the enemy was broke. I don't think we stole anything there. So the enemy doesn't seem to have any funds right now. So that's also a risk. We still captured their end bunkers, so the enemy has to go reclaim it. Which I think, there we go, they just did. So that's also kind of a way to distract the enemy, to force them to restart their earning of funds. Or I should say reset. Because when you capture the end bunker, you don't lose your ability to earn funds. You just go into the hole. So your funds go to negative 25, and then it takes a while to earn your way out of that. This isn't very exciting. I think I might just end this demo and we'll go to a different one. Because it might be some time before I get through this. I'm going to show a different level because it's going to take me a while to actually win that one. So maybe I'll show Midnight Oasis on Wargames. Well, I almost missed. Not quite, though. I'll make a run for this. Take the cloud. Okay. Got 2 missiles. Let's just go for this here. Ah! Maybe that'll work. I'm going to go back here. Oh. Now, if I had an infantry, what I would do is try to take that bunker and then fire missiles through it, so it's not in the way. But I don't have that option right now, so I'm going to try to aim a couple of aimed missiles and see if I can get a hit. Oh, too low. Okay. Go for this. I'm just going to do a Hail Mary here. I'll drop all the paratroopers and hope that one gets down to the ground level there. Looks like they're running into some trouble, but we can help out a little bit. I know I sacrificed some guys there. That might have not been necessary. Okay, now there's a very heavily guarded area here. I'm going to see. Just take out the enemy. The benefit of having one of these landing pads in the middle is it's a great place to be able to return to. And maybe a little bit of a cheap shot, but hey, we're not here to make friends. We can lob bombs, you know, cause a little ruckus, come back, refuel, and repeat. All right, so I think my spray and pray strategy is working here. So these are ground turrets. They're not looking for choppers, so that's to our benefit. A little far out. Let's see. Next group of 3. Yeah, here comes our first convoy. So I'm going to have some work to do pretty soon here if I want to protect that group. So we'll do 3 bombs, another 3. Oops. And now I'd better get cracking on taking out those turrets. Ah, yeah. Nailed it. Oh boy. Okay, now the problem is that tank is probably going to take out our tank, and then I'm out of ammo, and then we've got an upcoming group of 3 more of those nasty turrets. Okay, let me see if I can get ahead of these. Oh boy. Oh, okay, that'll work. So I took out the latter 2, which are going for ground units, and that tank is going to take out the one that was shooting at helicopters, so that's great. Now, unfortunately, we're going to lose that first tank to the oncoming convoy, but you know what? That leaves us still in a pretty good position. So in previous versions of the game, the tanks, the computer, CPU tanks were a little bit more biased in the computer's favor. And I felt like I reviewed the original, and it's a little bit more of a crapshoot, where sometimes your tanks win, sometimes their tanks win, so it's a little more balanced now. Now we're coming up to another heavily fortified area. Now, I'm going to try to use the cloud, and lagging a little bit here. Let's see if I can take out just those 2. Oh, man. I don't know about this. All right, let's just, I don't know, go for it. Yeah, that's not going to work. That tank is gone. Yeah. Well, this still leaves us in a pretty good position. So those guns are toast. The enemy helicopter is now going after some of our setup over there. Got lots of bombs, so we'll just clear that out. Somebody's shooting at something. Oh, there we are. The our infantry was working on that first turret there, but an infantry took it out. Oh. All right, that thing's done. Uh-oh, too soon. Missiles take a moment to arm themselves. So that's an option I added in to discourage you from firing too quickly, per se. Now, okay. We're in a bit of a standoff. I'm just going to do a Hail Mary, and we'll try to steal some funds if we can get a paratrooper into the enemy end bunker. That is if the enemy had any funds. I don't think they did. There might be a bug there where the notification didn't show. I need to review that. But basically, if you drop an infantry rather, into the enemy's end bunker, you can steal their funds. Their funds go to minus 25. May have already covered this. And then you either have to earn your way out of the hole in order to be able to order more convoys, or you reclaim your bunker by getting one of your own infantry back into it, and then that will reset your funds to 0. Haven't seen the enemy for a minute. They might be hiding in a cloud. It's a wise idea to check clouds to make sure they aren't have something hiding in them. If you look carefully, you can usually tell. There it is right there. Now let's see if I can get away with this. I don't know where the enemy... Oh, there they go. Well, they're trying to hide too. All right, we're going to have a little bit of a standoff then. Oh, shoot, I forgot to order a van. Well, all right, basically if I had a van there, we'd almost have this battle defeated, but unfortunately that's not the case. So you know what? Since I have the battlefield entirely owned at this point, we're going to fast forward in a moment to when the van is almost at the other end. I thought it would be interesting to show when your engineers are rebuilding groups of turrets. And so here you can see we've got quite a little setup of what will be 6 turrets. 3 that fire at ground units and 3 that fire at helicopters. And it's important to guard your engineers while they're repairing or capturing or building these things, because they're quite vulnerable. Now, if the enemy helicopter would just show up, that would be fun, because you'd be able to see how well these things can act as in an offensive fashion. But I think the enemy helicopter is hiding in the cloud. Here we go. Oh, that's fairly nasty. Oof. Now, in the higher difficulty levels, the turrets do fire at a much faster rate, so they're very dangerous. But the enemy helicopter also starts to use things like heat-seeking missiles and more bombs to take out your turrets and dropping infantry. So don't be fooled by the fact that the guns are fast, because the enemy helicopter gets pretty smart too later on. Somebody's trying to hide, but I see him. All right, as long as our van doesn't get taken out there, I think we've got this one in the bag. And there goes our van. Just at the last moment. Oh no. Maybe I jinxed myself. Perhaps I shouldn't have said that. Oh, we were real close though. Now, okay, there are some tanks just going off the right end of the battlefield there, and so I had a feature where you're given recycling options. So if a unit makes it all the way to the other end, you should be, my view is you should be rewarded for your work, and so you're refunded the amount that you spent. So for a tank, you get 4 credits back, 4 funds. I'm going to be a little cheap here, and I'm just going to sit here and kind of spam the enemy landing pad, because I just want to make sure that my guys get through. I also happen to know roughly the time that the enemy takes to respawn. So, this is a bit of a cheap move, but hey, I'm not here to make friends. Oh boy. All right, now this is important. I don't want to mess this up. All right, there we go. So this is the game over sequence. Nice that I won this one. A little bit of a rendering bug on that, but the last thing I want to show is you now have the letters from the old tanker. This is part of the original game, the printed manual, actually. And so there's a bit of a storyline here. And then when you've won the last battle, there's a bit of a end story as well. The last thing I've added is a stats report. So you're shown here, how many units did each side order? How many did you lose? How many were recycled? And then the right side also has the same. How many did they order? How many did they lose? How many did you take out? And how many were recycled? And it looks like I've got a bug here because I definitely recycled a couple of tanks. So that should be not 0. Good to know. Now, the difficulty, of course, we're playing Wargames. That took about 15 minutes. The score, I've now implemented the score based on the algorithm from the original. You're given points based on taking things out. You get a bonus as well, which is based on things like how many units did you order or not. So your score is affected by basically being effective playing the game. Maybe that should be written up somewhere so that you know more about the scoring, but the original was not transparent about how the scoring worked. The funds are, the funds here shows how many did you spend and how many did you earn and how many did you steal, if there was any stolen, how many were lost, and how many did you earn through recycling. So there's a bug there where I should have shown the recycled numbers. We took 3 balloons out, we destroyed 2 bunkers, and we own the remaining 3. 2 out of 3 super bunkers are owned by us, and we killed 9 turrets. We own 12 out of 21. That's a lot of turrets. And the average frames per second is 59. That's pretty decent considering we were going for 60. And if you want, that can be copied to the clipboard, and you can share that with your friends. There's also an option to post this information through to Slack or Discord through via webhooks if you're into that sort of thing. So there we go. That's more or less it. And, oh, I forgot to mention the original, the medals from the original game, which are shown as you progress through the battles. Those are also shown. I think that's just about it. There is a level editor. That's a whole other thing. You know, you can kind of create your own levels and make your own setups if you want to try. That's kind of fun. There is a whole other section on...
What the hell is this crap?
I can explain, but I think it's best...
This might be the worst crap I've ever seen in my life.
It's best you just poke around this one yourself.
Okay, Beavis.
But it's,
Kick a
like,
little
I just think of it as an alternate theme sound pack for the game.
A big wiener? It protects your nads, you know?
If you're 14, like I used to be at one point, this make you laugh.
By the way, did I ever tell you that I have a gigantic schlong?
I think that's just about it. I've had many kind letters from folks who've discovered my remake of this game, who've written in to say, thank you for doing this. I used to play this when I was younger. I played this with my dad at home. I used to play this at college on the network. And it's a great honor and privilege to have worked on something that brings smiles and joy and delight to people. And I think it's ultimately just the feeling of nostalgia. It's remembering something from the past that's been reimagined in a modern way. So thank you very much. And I hope you continue to enjoy this game.